Hey everybody, it's Mike Sullivan with Born to Shine. Today we have a really special guest. His name is Alan Wilson, and he is the superintendent over a really special district that's grade 5 through 12 in Ohio. And Alan, thanks for carving out some time for us today.
Thanks for the invite, Michael. Excited to talk with you today. Um, and I love what you're doing.
Mm,
So I wanted to include that at some point to say thank you because, any way that we can help people understand, get the word out, give them an outlet, I think is all worthwhile. So thank you for doing that. So you'd asked me, how, my journey,
yes,
and
sir.
we were talking that the high school me was animately opposed to ever becoming an educator or a teacher, uh, and here I am.
Yeah.
So life happens, as we know. Um, I didn't really know what I wanted to be. I knew I was going to go to college. That was always spoken about in my home. Like, you got to go to college. That's the way to create a future for yourself. And beyond that, I really didn't know. So different points, I found myself, I wanted to be a writer. I was interested in becoming a journalist
Mm,
and an attorney. And I ended up graduating with a dual major. I was history, political science, education, and I was finally ready to get out and go into the world, but I was still trying to keep feet in both areas, if that makes sense. So my plan was I was going to teach for a couple years, save some money, and then go to law school. And the reason I became a teacher is I really was in love with the idea of working within a subject area that I was just naturally interested in history.
hmm
So I thought, hey, love what you do, right? So my plan was a couple years, I'll, save some money. I was unattached and had no responsibilities, which sounds like a great time looking back. Um, and then life happened. I got married and we started having kids. And so I stayed in the educational realm. But my thought was, I'm going to be a teacher. This is it. This is the next 30 years. And I say that with reverence because I was fortunate. I had some really good teachers.
mm,
I was a student, and they also happened to be really good people. So
mm.
I thought, I want to be them. That's what they did. That's what I'll do. Unfortunately, I ran into some roadblocks. So I started out at a really nice little school district and decided that I wanted bigger and better and went to a more affluent suburban district and immediately had buyer's remorse.
Mm,
There were a lot of labor issues and just the culture wasn't good. And it was to the point where I was close to becoming the statistic
mm.
of I'm leaving and I'm leaving education because the data has always said that, if people leave, it's usually within 3 to 5 years. And I was on my way
Mm.
because I just was so disenchanted with this is not what I signed up for, and this is not what I want to be a teacher for. And then one day, still when we had newspapers and classified ads, I saw this job for an online learning coordinator, and I thought, okay, that was a new thing. This is early 2000s. So I applied and fully confident that if the timing and circumstances, even just one little thing, had been different, it wouldn't have been me, but it was. And I think God was looking out for me and had a plan, even though I didn't understand it. So I did that, and that morphed into being a part of some really creative, innovative things at the time in education. And I was blessed because I got exposure to other principals, superintendents, um, state, national level people. So I learned a lot. Um, and I also started, I think that's where my love affair with working with at-risk kids
Mm.
play. So a lot of the students that I would work with had these needs, and they would come through my door needing academic needs, but getting to know them, there were barriers, there was a story, and it was really about listening to their story.
Mm.
And, a lot of times there were social emotional needs, medical needs, family, sometimes legal, all of the above.
Mm,
And, it kind of occurred to me that, I'm not the person to help them, but I have access to people who
hmm
can help them. So it turned into kind of like a holistic approach to education. Like, we'll have these team approaches, to help a student be successful. So I did that for about 10 years, and then I decided that I wanted to be a principal in a building. So I was very interested and invested in working with at-risk youth at the time, and I became the principal of a school that focused just on at-risk. It was a dropout recovery program, which one of the greatest experiences of my career, and really my life, because there were days where I would laugh so hard I would cry, and days I would just cry.
mm,
It was equally rewarding and challenging.
mm,
So that wears on you. So I did that for almost a decade, and then I transitioned to become an assistant principal in a regular building, and then a principal. And then after about 12 years, I decided, I was ready to do something different. So again, back to where our story started, I never thought this is the seat that I would be in. I'll be a superintendent someday. But there was this opportunity that opened up here at iSTEM, and it looked like a really unique opportunity. Um, and I thought, I want to go for that. And so here I am.
That's awesome. I love it. I love your story, Alan, and it just shows God had a plan and a purpose for your life, right? And I
Absolutely.
think that's so cool because you didn't think that education was where you were going to be at. Now you're immersed in it, and at the very top is the superintendent. And I love that you had a heart for at-risk kids. That's really special because that takes a really special person to do that, and to be in it for a decade is amazing. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was a game changer. And I sometimes think everybody, if you go into education, no matter what field or direction, I think you should probably spend some time working with those populations because it's
Mhm.
going to really frame what you need to do and why you're doing it.
Yeah.
And I think what it taught me, Michael, was, it wasn't a job, it was a ministry. This is
Mm.
a way to serve people,
Yeah.
and this is a way to, impact lives, not from the pulpit necessarily,
hmm
but, you can still change lives. You can still help. You can still heal. So I didn't go into that thinking anything like that, but came out with a different perspective.
Yeah, amen. That's beautiful. And Alan, when you were K-12, speaking of at risk, were there anything emotionally or mentally that you struggled with? For me, it was anxiety and depression. I was bullied. It was just a tough time, K-12. Was there anything that when you were a kiddo that you struggled with?
Yeah, I think mine was anxiety and depression. And I, looking back through an adult lens,
Mm-hmm.
can remember even being in elementary school,
Mm-hmm.
feeling anxiety. And sometimes it was social situations, or my emotions seemed out of control, or I would um, get really down about anything, and I
Mm-hmm.
would get mad at myself because it's like, what's wrong with you? And I didn't know the answer as a kid. And it got to the point where, as a teenager, it was almost crippling.
Mm-hmm.
I was the teenage boy that, if I got invited to a party, I wouldn't go because that was going to be uncomfortable. Even though everyone I was going to be there with were friends and it was going to be a safe environment, my mind was that's going to be awkward and uncomfortable. The easy solution is just don't go, avoid it. Um, Being in a classroom with my peers, if I got a question wrong or something didn't quite go as I had hoped, I would just really fall apart inside. It got to the point where I was uncomfortable in my own skin
Mm-hmm.
and just painfully shy. painfully insecure, and it was really more than just the typical adolescent. Like I was my worst critic. Like I would say horrible things to myself internally more than anybody else could ever say. And it really affected my outlook. Like I'm not good enough.
Hmm.
You're never gonna amount to anything. No one likes you. You're ugly. I would look at myself in the mirror and be like, I don't like what I see. And it
Hmm.
was all internal. And I really, even through college, into my mid 20s, I struggle with really both. I think the anxiety and the depression kind of played off of each other.
Yeah, first of all, I'm so sorry to hear that, Alan, and that you struggled. And as you were talking, I can relate to all of it. I had the same thoughts, the same self-criticism, the same struggling with regulating my emotions. They were all over the place. So I'm just sorry you went through that. And it's amazing that we can beat ourselves up. And if we could only see ourselves the way God sees us, the way that we're fearfully and wonderfully made, and He has this incredible job for us to do. But sometimes, like for me, I'll get in my own way, and I'll, not even try because I'll think, well, if it's not perfect, I don't even want to try it. So I had to get over that, and that took a lot of help. But it's really cool to see a really successful man like you open up like that. I think if there's a student watching, they're going to be really inspired. If there's a parent watching, they're going to be inspired. Same with teachers and staff, because I think the world's kind of infected right now with this perfectionism and comparing ourselves with everyone else. So I really appreciate you sharing that. That was really cool.
Yeah, yeah, it was, and I know I'm preaching to the choir. A lot of times you feel like there's very little hope, and you almost buy into this uh, self-fulfilling prophecy. This is
Hmm.
the way it's going to be, and
Hmm.
even under the best of circumstances, we know life rarely works out as we envision or plan it. But then when you have additional challenges with your mental health or
Hmm.
whatever it is, that adds another variable to it. So, at times I was very distant from my faith, and then there were times where I was clinging to it like my life depended on it.
Hmm. Same.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Grew up in church, and I was the kid that was bored to tears sitting in that pew. And when are
Hmm.
we getting out of here? And
Hmm.
then there were times, especially my early 20s, like I need this. I need to cling to my faith. I need that knowledge that, I am, as you said, fearfully and wonderfully made. I am unique in God's eyes, and He has a plan for me.
Absolutely.
And trusting in that's gotten me through a lot of very difficult nights. So
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. And if we just had, and I know this is kind of just dreaming, but if we had a magic wand and we could wave it and have anything happen for the good at our school district and for our staff and students, what would that look like for the coming year? If you were to just dream big, what would you love to see more of as far as support for your staff and students?
yeah, boy, that's literally $1 million question. I would love to see all schools find, and I know resources are tough for them,
Mhm.
but if we can embed not just like a one-timer, but we make it a part of our instruction and our curriculum and our services, things to support wellness and mental health, not just for the students, but also for the teachers. They need it too.
Yeah.
Um, we launched a program this year in our school called Sources of Strength,
Mm.
and it's really designed to be student-led. We have our school counselor and a social worker who works in the building. They lead it, but it's about helping students kind of understand that, we're all different. You're different, I'm different, but what do we have in common? What can we share?
Mm.
It's okay if you're different. It's more important to maybe understand it rather than judge it or criticize it. And then it takes it to another step of, let's learn how to articulate why we're feeling, so like we were very confused as I was as a kid, like I don't know why I feel this way and I don't really know what it is. So one of the cool things with sources is we have a phrase called name it, claim it, frame it.
Hmm.
And it's, for example, I feel anxious today.
Hmm.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You're allowed to. It's a human emotion.
Hmm.
Then framing it, why? Well, I feel anxious because I've got a social situation that I'm not looking forward to. And in the past, it wasn't a good experience. I think it'll happen again. And then claiming it is that may have happened before, but that doesn't guarantee it's going to happen again. So you're kind of taking some ownership of it. Now I'm more equipped. Now I understand me better and I've got some strategies. So it doesn't mean that's a promise,
Right.
kind of empowering them to here's how I feel, and it's okay. If I'm depressed, it's okay. If I'm angry, it's okay.
Hmm.
Why? What are some reasons? And then this is what I'm going to do about it. So we've been really pleased with the results that we've seen. We're going to continue, and that's just the start. We want to add more. Um, but we really want to avoid what I think you and I probably felt was a lot of isolation at
Hmm.
times. We
Hmm.
want to try to help people avoid that. You're not the only one.
Yeah.
And there are other people that can at least identify. We're also investing in educator wellness because, teachers are caregivers, among other things.
Hmm.
If their tank is dry, it's hard for them to be those caregivers and those pros. So we're really trying to invest in talking about a lot of the same things. Like you are going to get tired, you are going to get frustrated, or you're going to hurt for one of your students. It's okay. It's authentic. It doesn't mean you're a bad teacher. It's fine. Not fine, but you're not going to get a bad evaluation. It's not a sign of weakness. Uh,
Right.
and then bringing in some tools. And sometimes it's just little things like acknowledging, appreciation for the job you do. At one point, we brought in some facilitators to teach techniques, wellness techniques that they can do, right there at their desk. We brought a massage therapist in, just kind of a take care of yourself day. Um, so it's just valuing them that you have a very difficult job and you taking care of you is just as important as the people that you're taking care of.
Yeah, amen. Amen to that. Well said. And if there's something that's on your heart, Alan, maybe
Mhm.
if it's a teacher or a superintendent like yourself, or maybe even a mom or dad or a student that's watching this, what's something encouraging or like words of edification or what's on your heart?
Yeah. Um, I would just say that, I know we all at one point feel desperate or we feel alone,
Hmm.
and you're not alone, and if you can just connect with one person, it could be a trusted adult, it could be a family member, your spouse, friend, and sometimes even that stranger on the street who will give you a word of encouragement and just change you.
Hmm.
Don't hold it in, find a way to share with somebody because I do think there is some power in just articulating here's how I feel or what's going on with me, and it's almost like a cathartic release of like, I got it out.
Yeah.
So, in a safe, healthy way, don't feel you got to handle it yourself. um, and there is always hope. There is always hope. As long as you are still here and give yourself some grace, because I'm guessing this isn't the first time you've probably felt this way. You're a survivor, and you're a little stronger than you were before and a little wiser. So, give yourself some credit. You can do this.
Love it, love it. And Alan, thank you so much for sharing your heart with us, sharing your experience and your story with us, which is really cool, your journey, and just how much you care about kids. It's no mistake that you are where you are as the leader, and I think it's awesome. So thanks for sharing your story with us.
Oh, thank you so much. This was really enjoyable. I always love when somebody, throws me the questions in advance so I can prepare for it. But this was a lot of fun. I truly did enjoy it. And again, I want to thank you for your mission and what you're doing, and looking forward to seeing where you're going next.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks, Alan.
All right. Have a good one.
You were born to. You were born to.